Put your faith in the light.
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. This is Lightblade, and Blizzard just dropped a huge blue post with class changes, and the ones they did to Retribution, I wasn't expecting. They literally deleted a talent and replaced it. At most, I thought they were just gonna do some number tuning and call it a day. Anyways, with that being said, let's go to the changes. Okay guys, let's start here with the general Paladin changes, and there's only one here, but it's a pretty impactful one. As a Retribution Paladin, we were forced to take Crusader Aura. That is no longer the case. Now the talent that we're forced to take is Greater Judgment, but that doesn't really matter because we are always going to take that talent anyways. This allows us to take our useful aura, you know, Devotion Aura and Concentration Aura in certain situations, so this is a really big change for us. Now let's move into the Templar changes. Okay, so Templar changes. The first one is to Undisputed Ruling. This got a small nerf, going from 15% haste to 12% whenever you drop your Hammer of Light. The next one is also a small nerf to the main mechanic of the Templar talent tree, the Empyrean Hammers. Now they do 5% less damage, but they got compensated with the Wrathful Descent buff. Whenever Empyrean Hammer critically strikes, now it hits for 80% of its value instead of only 60%. So it's a small nerf in single target, that 5% damage loss, but it's a buff, a huge buff in AoE for the little hammers. And finally, the last change we have in the Templar talent tree is to Sacrosanct Crusade. Now, instead of getting 20% of your maximum health whenever you use Wake of Ashes and Hammer of Light, you get 15% for each one of them. So instead of getting a 50% maximum health shield, now you can only get a 40% max health shield, which is still really strong, you know, but it's no longer like overpowered strong. Now let's go to the Retribution specific changes. Okay, we have a lot to talk about in the Retribution specific talents. Most of the changes were done here. So let's start with the most basic ones. Zealot's Fervor, it's now a 2-point node, and the first one gives you 20% attack speed, the second one gives you 40. This is really good news if you like playing with Crusading Strike because it gives a lot of value to that talent. The next change is to the Divine Hammer node. It's no longer a node because Consecrated Blade is now baseline. You learn it at level 11 as a Retribution Paladin. This means that whenever you throw your Blade of Justice, every 10 seconds you just get a free consecration. Okay, the next change is to Heart of the Crusader. This is now a 2-point node. The first one will give you 10% increased damage to Crusader Strike, Templar Strikes, or Crusading Strikes, and also 10% increased critical strike damage to them. And the second point will give you 20% of the same thing. This is really strong, especially combined with Templar Strikes, because the base damage of this spell is a lot higher than the base damage of Crusading Strikes. The next small change we have to talk about is to Blessed Champion. So this used to be a 2-point node. The first one allowed you to cleave with Crusader Strike and Judgment to 2 targets, and whenever you put 2 points on it, it was 4 targets. Now, this is a really good quality of life change. You just need to put 1 point and you're always going to cleave those 4 targets no matter what. Okay, now for the big change. Vanguards of Justice is gone. It's been replaced with Empyrean Legacy. Empyrean Legacy is not new, you know, just whenever you throw your Judgment, your next single target holy ability is going to be doing Divine Storm. But the talent that took the spot of Empyrean Legacy, that's the new one, and it's called Holy Flames. So Divine Storm deals baseline 10% increased damage, and when it hits something that has Expurgation on it, it spreads the effect to 4 nearby targets. And you deal 3% increased damage, holy damage, to anything that has an Expurgation debuff on it. You might notice that this is going to share a node with Blade of Vengeance, and this makes your Blade of Vengeance basically AoE or work like a Divine Storm. So how do these talents kinda compare to each other? Well, Blade of Justice is just going to be better in most situations where you're going to be hitting more than 5 things, because the Blade of Justice just applies Expurgation to any number of targets, no matter what. While Holy Flames, it only applies it to 4 targets for every Divine Storm you're going to be throwing. You also have to account that sometimes you're just going to overlap your Expurgations on the same target, so that's kind of annoying. I'm thinking that Holy Flames is going to be better in a situation where you're fighting mostly like 5 mobs or under, or maybe like in raid boss situations where they just spawn ads, while we're still going to be using Blade of Vengeance for most of our needs in big AoE mobs, because this works like Divine Storm. You know, Divine Storm is fully uncapped, although reduced after 5 targets, and Blade of Vengeance works the same way, so I think it's just a lot better for those uncapped situations. Okay, so are these changes good or bad? And to that question I say they're good. they're a step in the right direction. A lot of quality of life changes, especially the ones in the general Paladin tree, not forcing us to take a dead talent, and making Consecrated Blade baseline is great because it means that the gap between our AoE and single target builds gets smaller. The new talent, although it came out of nowhere, it looks strong and makes sense in that it does the same job that Bangers of Justice did, giving us cleave damage. And well guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching everyone.